Welcome, everybody, to the Seattle Sports Union podcast. My name is Abraham DeWeese. I'm back again with that damn dirty duck, Matt Page, and the Soulman, Brian Solack, producing. And today, our special guest is Joe Doyle. How's it going, Joe?
Good to be back, guys. What is this? This got to be 5, 6, 7 times on the show. I really enjoy this one.
Oh, thank you very much. We enjoy you, too.
Yeah, we love having you, man. Every time you're on, it's a lot of fun.
The feeling is mutual.
We always get a nice little bump whenever you're on the show, so thank you so much.
Oh, good. I don't know what your listeners are looking for, but here I am.
I think they're looking for your dulcet tones and your soothed, calm demeanor.
Oh, yes. That's what got me my wife, the dulcet tones.
And the encyclopedic knowledge that you possess.
That is how I've almost lost my wife, but yes.
Is there a story that you need to tell right off the bat there? Or?
No, I'm just saying in general, I spend way too much time married to baseball rather than my wife.
Oh.
Well, married to baseball, I assume
married to baseball.
I assume you got to see the big news for the Mariners today that Josh Naylor was traded. Matt, who were the two guys we traded?
Ashton, Izzy, and Brandyn Garcia.
Joe, we were just curious. What do you think about that trade? Was that a fair trade? I think they were Matt, 13 and.
MLB Pipeline has them 13 and 16, I believe. The Mariners organization.
Yeah, Joe, was that an appropriate trade? Does that bode well for the Mariners, or is this just moving the chairs on the deck of the Titanic?
Yeah, no, I think it feels right. I think it feels appropriate. You're trading a left-handed reliever who has a chance to develop into an eighth inning guy, and you're trading Ashton, Izzy, who I think probably has the upside of a number 4 starter if all goes well. But there's still some risk with Izzy. So, I'm glad it's not more, and I say that not because of what Seattle would have had to have given up if it was more, but rather I'm glad it doesn't set the market for this trade deadline at something obscene. I mean, if you're moving a top 100 prospect, a Michael Arroyo, or name whoever you want, for a Josh Naylor who derives most of his offensive value in WRC plus by his walk rate and his lack of strikeouts, and not his slugging percentage, I think it sets a very, very high bar for what it's going to take to get Eugenio Suarez. So, yeah, Seattle, they keep all the ammunition they need to swing a Suarez deal, to swing a O'Hearn deal, and I think that they're positioned well here with 5 or 6 days to go.
Great.
I have to pause and do the shameless self-promotion. Brian actually interviewed Ashton, Izzy, or AJ, as he sometimes goes by, I guess, just about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's available on our website, seattlesportsunion.com. Shameless plug, sorry.
Famous Arizona Diamondbacks prospect, Ashton Izzy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you're saying this does not preclude the Mariners from going out and getting other trades as well? This is not one and done.
No, not at all. And, if you're a Mariners fan, I think you got to feel pretty good about this because, the best case outcome for Ashton Izzy is he turns into a number 4 starter or a high number 5 starter. And you look at this organization right now, they've got a couple more years of Gilbert and Kirby and Miller and Wu. And, they got 2 more years of Castillo, and Kade Anderson is here, and Logan Evans and Emerson Hancock and, everybody in between. So, you're moving a guy that is going to have a pretty narrow path to playing time with the big league ball club anyways. So you might as well move him as a piece to get your big league team better. And, we'll see what happens with Harry Ford, but you would probably make the argument there's a pretty similar adjacency there.
Yeah, that segues nicely into one of the questions I wanted to hit you on, was Harry Ford. Watching our results from the draft and the 3 catchers we selected, and seeing, like you said, the narrow playing path ahead of him on the major league squad. Do you think Harry Ford is a trade chip this deadline? Do you think he's gone? Probably.
I think in a perfect world, Seattle would like to find an organization that values him as a catcher, as they do, someone that's going to give Seattle the biggest return for what they believe his value is. Whether that is Baltimore or Arizona or, it doesn't matter. Like, name the organization. I think they're hoping that they can find someone who has a similar, ceiling outcome for Harry Ford. And to answer your question, yeah, I mean, there's not a place for Harry Ford. And I don't think, if you're the Mariners, Harry Ford is a good player. He's a good prospect, and he will help your team in 2026. But I don't think they would prefer to have Ford waste as the backup catcher in Seattle in 2026. You would just rather trade him for a guy like Eugenio Suarez, who can help you win the World Series potentially in 2025. So I think, like I said, I think in a perfect world they're going to find a suitor that's willing to deal with them for Ford. But at the same time, I don't think they'll force it if they're trading it to a team that believes he's an average left fielder, for example.
Joe, I'm focusing on the word you said, hoping. So you don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Ford's out the door?
Takes two to tango, Abraham. It takes
Okay.
two to tango. You have to find the team that wants Harry Ford. There's not going to be a lot of teams that want Harry Ford if they think he's a left fielder. It's just that, outfielders are easy to find. And Harry Ford hasn't proven that he can play an exceptional outfield at this point. So you are hoping that you're finding a team that, one, has an asset that you want, and two, values Harry Ford as the catcher that you believe he is.
So you can get more in return. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and to that, mentioned the catchers we drafted. I know that we have a producer, the Soulman, who is desperately sitting there vibing at me, probably wanting me to ask you about Luke Stevenson and where he fits in our plans and what you think of him.
Yeah, he's a good player. I've been watching Luke since he was a junior in high school, and he's always been this polished, mature, super advanced, high IQ, all the things that you want from a catcher at the next level. How quickly they're going to move with him, it depends. He's got a lot of work to do on the hit tool. That's something that is going to have to be a developmental checkpoint for him. I would imagine he starts next season, 2026, in Everett, and he might spend most of the season there. We might not see Luke Stevenson until 2028, but when he does arrive, you are going to have a strong defensive catcher with a big arm, and you're going to have a guy who's capable of hitting the ball out of the park. I said this on another podcast. At worst, I think you've got Tom Murphy, and at best, you might have something a little bit more. I don't know exactly what that ceiling looks like, but the issue with Stevenson is, and this is painfully obvious, a path to 450 plate appearances in Seattle might not exist. So he's a very prototypical, strong-armed, big power, left-handed hitting catcher that can win you some games with the bat and can win you some games with the throwing arm if you give him the reps.
Awesome.
Do you think? One more question. Sorry, real quick. Do you see them potentially, if he pans out in the best case scenario, like you're talking? Do you see any potential of them maybe shifting Cal to first, or at least platooning or bouncing back and forth between first and catcher to give him some at bats at Seattle?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that conversation is reserved for when Cal makes that a conversation. Like, if you wanna look at Jason Varitek, right?
Yeah.
And look at Mitch Garver. I mean, these are two guys that were in their mid-30s, and they're still catching. I think, folks want to find a way to get multiple bats into the lineup, but my answer for that would be, well, why don't you just keep hitting Stevenson as the catcher and go sign a first baseman? Go get a legitimate first baseman. It's already so unbelievably impressive that Cal Raleigh is putting up the offensive output that he is while playing catcher. And I think people are probably underappreciating how difficult it is for someone to learn how to play first base. It's really hard.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's not as straightforward as, well, give him a first base glove and get him out from behind the plate. And it might, I'll say one other thing, like playing first base doesn't take the stress off the knees like I think a lot of people think it might. I mean, you're going to be on your feet for the whole game. So I guess that's a long-winded way of saying I think Cal's going to catch for the Seattle Mariners until he's 35, 36.
Okay.
And at that point, you talk about either another extension or you let him walk. But yeah, either Stevenson is going to be the full-time catcher if Cal Raleigh gets hurt, or he's going to be the backup, or he's going to get traded.
Right on. Soulman's got a question for you. And of course, it's going to be about Kade Anderson, the first pick for the Mariners. Everybody seems to think that he's coming up and he's going to come up really soon for the big league team. Is this a guy that's going to skip a bunch of the minors, or do we need to pump the brakes and take a look at this guy first?
I think you need to pump the brakes. Yeah, I mean, I think he could pitch in Double A tomorrow. It's 4 pitches. It's all of them for strikes. It's sequencing. It's pitchability. It's a durable operation. He threw 130 innings this season, so conceivably he could throw 155 in 2026. But like, here's the thing: short of the team trading Bryce Miller or trading Luis Castillo this offseason, there isn't an obvious fit for Kade Anderson in this organization, like in the starting rotation right now. And also, it's not the most overwhelming stuff to suggest that he's just going to blow hitters away at the big league level. Like, we're still talking about a guy that was like 92 to 94 most nights. Yeah, he grabbed 97, but this is, he's not throwing any harder than what Logan Evans is doing right now. In fact, I would go a step further. Emerson Hancock is throwing harder than what Kade Anderson is doing right now. So I think you need to pump the brakes a little bit. You need to see what Kade Anderson looks like after he goes through high performance camp. Maybe not once, but twice this winter. Get him stronger, get him more physical. And then maybe he's a guy that can live 94 to 95 with 4 pitches. But I don't expect to see Kade Anderson in the Seattle Mariners uniform in 2026.
I believe I've read too, they're not even allowing him to pitch this summer.
Yeah.
They asked him
that
to
doesn't surprise me at all. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, he pitched so much that, yeah.
He threw 38 innings as a freshman. Yeah, 38 innings as a freshman. Didn't pitch as a high school senior, recovering from Tommy John. He rocket ships up to 131 innings this season. I think if they were to go out there, and another thing that's important here is he hasn't pitched in like 3 or 4 weeks. You know what I mean? So there's all that stopping and starting and stopping and starting. Like, no, get him stronger, get 8 to 10 pounds on him, put him through high performance camp in the winter. Get him more physical for the the long haul of 180 innings, and see what this thing looks like in 2027. That would be my best guess.
So I wanted to, excuse me. I wanted to ask you about some trends that I kind of noticed in some of the selections of the hitters. It looks like Dave, the control the zone philosophy and contact emphasis. There's a few key people that they kind of ignored that philosophy on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious if that indicates any kind of change in how the organization is looking at developing their hitting. I mean, they've had trouble developing hitters at the major league level. Maybe they're kind of trying some new things, or is it just a matter of these were the best guys available at the slot, let's go for it?
I actually think there was a good bit of control the zone in this class, but to your point, there was not a lot of there was a lot of swing and miss. But I think that was also a byproduct of this class. Like, there just wasn't a lot of scrappy bat to ball guys that were going to provide value. Like, I could name a handful of guys that didn't swing and miss, but they also had very, very limited tools and ways to actually provide value. So, but like, I look at Luke Stevenson, he had a 26% whiff rate this season, which is pretty high at the college level, but it was a 15% chase rate. So he never expanded the zone. He swung at the right pitches. He had issues with the breaking ball, but he still had a good sound approach. Luke Heyman, some similar, metrics there. Grant J had a lot of swing and miss, but again, didn't expand the zone too much. So I think what Seattle looked to do in this class was draft tools, draft guys that could run, draft guys that can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and potentially guys that can walk a little bit. There's going to be swing and miss with this class, that's for sure. But at the same time, it's not like they went out and drafted guys with, huge volatility that will never be big leaguers. They'll carve out a path.
Well, one of those guys that I wanted to ask you about is Corbin Dickerson. Intriguing player. Should he be my favorite draft pick? Because I think he is.
He's pretty fun to root for. Corbin Dickerson would fall into your bucket of aggressive outside of the zone, aggressive in the zone, swings a lot. That guy had a 27% chase rate, but
Yeah.
I think he's also a perfect example of a guy that, it's a plus glove in center field. It's plus raw power. It's a plus throwing arm. It's plus speed. Like, he's got all of the traits to become a star, but he also looks like a guy that could hit 215 or 220, with a lot of strikeouts. So I think the fact that they got Corbin Dickerson in the 5th round is exceptional. I had him going in the 3rd round, so that was a bit of a surprise. But yeah, I think you have to be at least a little bit cautious with his inability to hit the breaking ball.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the question about the vanilla missile, because every time you're on the show, we got to ask, when are we seeing the vanilla missile in Everett?
He won Player of the Month for, was it June? The organization.
Yep. Yeah, he's been better. Here's the thing, guys. It's so surprising. I really fell in love watching Walter Ford in, I believe it was that spring of 2022. Just like the most explosive mover with crazy arm speed, touching 98 as a high school senior, as a 17-year-old. He's very, very young when they drafted him, and he's still young. When I watch Walter Ford throw, it doesn't look to me like he's moving as fast as he once was. It doesn't look to me like that arm speed has fully gone back from his illness. So, and listen, the radar guns support it. He's mostly 92 to 94, and there's some 91s mixed in there. So, it's more like the vanilla torpedo right now. I don't know if he's got the missile Mach speed that he once did. But hey, still young. I would imagine that he's right on the doorstep of going to Everett, and maybe one more high performance camp unlocks that velo we're missing from him from his high school days.
Right
on. Mentioning players that we want to see on the Aqua Sox, and we are seeing on the Aqua Sox, but might be experiencing some issues. Durangelo. I'm going to fail on saying his last name, but you know exactly who I'm talking about, obviously. He's been banged up a few times this year. Is there any reason to be concerned about potential future injuries? I mean, it just seems like the weirdest stuff that keeps happening.
Yeah, I don't. It sounds to me like it's just been general soreness, which, I mean, that's always scary to hear about a pitcher. There's no way around that. And it is his right arm, which is his better throwing arm. So, and the control this season hasn't been what I think a lot of people expected it to be. I've said this before. I'll say it again. If it were me, I would have him ditch the left-handed thing. I would focus all of your time, all of your attention, all of your strength training, durability, arm care, everything on the right side. There's only so many hours in the day. And see if that unlocks more of an ability to throw strikes. The stuff is good enough from the right side to get left-handed hitters out. And so this insistence to throw from the left side, I think, is strange. But yeah, I mean, general soreness, always something to be concerned about, I think. But so long as he keeps going out there and tickling, big radar gun readings, and they haven't taken a dip, I don't think there's really any reason to be too concerned.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, our producer, the Soulman, Brian Solack, needs to ask about Wazoo players. And the one he wants to know about is a fellow Coug catcher, Will Kressel, drafted by Toronto this year. Does he have a shot at getting to the majors?
Yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a defensive catcher. I think that's the biggest thing with Will is he actually didn't make my final board because I have questions about the bat, but he is one of the better defensive catchers on the West Coast. It's big arm strength. He's got a little bit of positional versatility as well. But that's a good pick by Toronto. I said this on my Overslot podcast. I thought Toronto had, if not the best draft of any team, one of the top 2 or 3. And maybe that's my Coug bias, but in any case, he's a good defensive catcher.
Since we're on the subject of Toronto and their draft, one of their draft picks was Arjun Namala, shortstop.
Last year?
First Indian. Was he last year? Okay.
He was last year, yeah.
Okay. He was actually 2023.
I still want to ask about him.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
How's he looking?
Listen,
Abe is
Arjun
his
is taking a huge
fan
step.
club leader.
He's
Sorry, go
taken a
ahead.
huge step this season. Defensively, he looks great. The power has come on. The hit tool is it's coming along. But like the thing is, he's still 19 years old, if I'm not mistaken. He's so
Yes.
young.
Yeah.
In fact, in that draft, I think he went 20th in that draft. When I was writing all my reports and doing all my grading and rankings, he was 7 on my board. He almost cracked the top 5. Like it was Skeens, Cruz, Langford, Max Clark, Walker Jenkins, all seen as like, you know, prodigious prospects, right? And then for me, it was Kyle Teal 6 and it was Arjun Namala 7. So I held him in extremely high regard. And yeah, it's starting to come together for the kid. And he still looks good at shortstop. My biggest question with Arjun was, is he going to get too big? Because he's got so much strength in his lower half. Is he going to get too big to play shortstop? And is he going to move to third base? Doesn't look like it. He looks like he's a shortstop. So I would expect he is probably in Toronto at some point in 2027. Yeah, he could be the heir apparent to Bo Bichette at some point. So we'll see.
Nice.
All right. Our producer's also asking, as the head of the fan club, for Victor Labrada, what your thoughts are on him right now, on how he's doing.
Yeah, listen, he's taken another step. He's knocking at the door, right there. He's in Tacoma. That driveline training seems to have really made a difference for him over the winter. So I have not had the opportunity to go see Labrada in person yet this year. My summers are always insane with the draft and with high school baseball, but yeah, I think he's probably on the short list for next in line for Seattle if they do need outfield help. So I don't think we're going to see him this year, but it wouldn't surprise me if he either signs a minor league deal and is pitching in AAA somewhere else in 2026 or what have you. So I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. He's a good kid.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we were talking about how somebody like maybe a Raleigh or a Canzone probably have to go down to Tacoma. So that kind of blocks him, doesn't it?
I think it would require even more than that, to be honest with you. So Canzone is going to go down. I'm assuming Canzone is going to go down in the Naylor trade. It's just my best guess. So he'll be blocked by Canzone. And then also, we're probably 5 weeks away from Victor Robles as well. So, there's also that. The other thing is he's not on the 40-man roster and Samad Taylor is. So, and who's Cade Marlowe's not on the 40-man roster to my my recollection, but the kid that they traded for with the Mets that was up for a cup of coffee this year, he played right field, really slappy hitter. He's also on the 40-man. So yeah, Labrada might be behind like 2 or 3 guys, but hey, listen, the fact that he got to Tacoma this year means that if he becomes a minor league free agent this winter, someone's probably going to sign him with the intention of throwing him right into AAA. So whether it's with Seattle or another organization, he really is close.
I can't remember. Is that called Rule 5?
So no, this would just be, he would just literally be becoming a free agent, like point blank period. Doesn't have a contract with Seattle, free agent.
Yeah. I see. What triggers that? Is it X amount of years in the minors?
Yeah, it is. It's just the amount of years that you've been in the minor leagues. And actually, Labrada was, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me on this. I believe he was a free agent last year, and Seattle re-signed him to another 1-year deal. Yeah, so he's gone through his control years. Now he's done one more extra year with Seattle. And if you look at where this organization is, I think if you're Labrada, you have to look around and say, shoot, Johnny Farmello isn't very far behind me. And Lázaro Montes isn't very far behind me. And those guys are going to pass me up, like in the pecking order at some point. At least Montes is. He's going to pass me on the pecking order at some point in 2026. Maybe I should go to Chicago or Pittsburgh or somewhere that, will give me a better opportunity.
It's Ryland Thomas, by the way, is the man you're thinking
Ryland
of.
Thomas.
Oh, okay.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I got to get the last one off of Soulman's list here, and that's Reed Van Scooter. What's your shake or what's slowdown on him?
Man, Reed he's an awesome story, man. Like undrafted, starting in is he still in Everett? I don't think he's up to
No.
Arkansas yet, is he?
No.
He went up. Yeah.
Yeah,
He went up last year.
he's in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that shows you how tuned in I am on Reed Van Skoder.
I think Soulman, you got your answer.
Yeah, I think. Listen, the thing about Van Skoder is, I think he's ultimately going to be a crafty lefty swingman. I don't think he's going to start any games for the Seattle Mariners, and hell, maybe he's trade fodder. But anytime you can, like, look at what they did with Brandyn Garcia. Like, he was able to get a cup of coffee with Seattle, mostly because of his handedness before he got traded. It wouldn't totally shock me if Reed Van Skoder was, one of the bullpen train type guys that this organization needs. And I'll say this. Like, as you get into like May of 2026, for example, and all of a sudden, all of the relievers start getting hurt, bang, 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 and there's just a cavalcade of different names that you see coming up and pitching for Seattle every summer. Like it happens every year.
Mhm.
It wouldn't surprise me if Van Skoder is on the short list. And partially because this team plays so many close games, it might be nice to have a guy like Van Skoder who can come up and pitch, in a blowout the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th innings and just save the bullpen. Feels like they haven't had a guy like that in a couple of years.
Okay. Earlier, I was asking Matt about Brandyn Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn every time I watch the Mariners, they're missing like a left-hander in the bullpen. Why did we trade him if we just brought him up to the majors?
Well, the short answer is Josh Naylor.
Right. It wasn't a position of strength.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing about Garcia. He wasn't really a split specialist. He wasn't really a guy that just got lefties out at a crazy clip.
Okay.
That's Gabe Speyer's, role. If there ever comes a time at the end of a game where the next inning is going to be lefty, righty, lefty, it's going to be Gabe Speyer. And Brandyn Garcia, not only is he not the strike thrower that Speyer is, but he's not the strikeout artist that Speyer is. So you can't really carry two lefty specialists. And I mean, look, Taylor Saucedo was sent down way earlier this year, and there's been next to no need for him to come back up as well as he works through things. So, yeah, I think the fact that they turned a reliever and a blocked 4th starter into Naylor, way more valuable than waiting on Brandyn Garcia to potentially become like Jake Diekman or something.
Excellent. I think we got time for one more question, Matt. I think Soulman wants it.
Yeah. So last question, we want to know your overall grade for the Mariners draft 2025.
Yeah, I on Overslot I gave it an A-, and it's one of 3 teams that I gave an A or an A- to. So yeah, I thought the Mariners, the Blue Jays, and I believe it was the Cincinnati Reds, if I'm correct. I'm trying to remember which other team was. But in any case, I gave them an A- because 1, you got Kade Anderson. 2, you filled the need of catching depth in the minor leagues, which they were woefully thin on, in my opinion. You got Nicky Becker, and I think Nicky Becker is their star upside there, which I think you have to chase. When you have $17 million to spend in the draft, you have to chase a star in some way, shape, or form. And then they grabbed some players later in the draft that I thought had big league roles. I would have given them an A, and they may still earn an A. They've got like $700,000 more to spend in this draft, and the one name that's kind of sitting out there is Griffin Stieg, their, I think, 18th round pick out of Virginia Tech. If they can find a way to ink him before the deadline on Monday, probably be an A for me, because I think Griffin Stieg is exceptionally exciting as a hard-throwing sinker baller reliever that just breaks knuckles. So it's an A- right now. Might get to an A.
Alrighty. Where can people find your grading?
Yeah, so you can find all of my grading for the 2025 draft at patreon.com/overslot. And then you can find, I've got something cool to announce next week. So keep an eye on my Twitter, Joe Doyle, MILB. You can find a lot more of my stuff over there.
Fantastic.
Still drinking beer in the picture?
Still
profile
drinking
picture?
beer.
Okay.
Still drinking beer in
Yeah.
the picture. Yeah. I feel like I have this fear that if I change my picture from drinking beer, people are thinking I get soft.
Well, wait, last several shows you've been drinking wine in the on the
Yeah.
show.
I told you guys before the show started, it's too hot today. And I did have a Corona with dinner.
Alright.
So,
nice.
Okay.
still, I guess, on that train. But I'll tell you what, you guys have me back in November, December, January, like we always do.
Mhm.
I'll pour an
Look at that wine.
extra healthy glass of wine.
Oh,
Excellent.
all right.
Deal. Well, I know you got to get running here, so I just want to let everybody know that Joe's fantastic. Check him out on Twitter. Check it out. Check out his page again. That's Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/overslot.
Excellent. And as we always end the show, we ended on a shout out. Let's go ahead and go around. I'll go ahead and get this kicked off here. I want to give a quick shout out to my softball team. We had a mighty 6-run lead going into the 7th inning and colossally collapsed, but it was a lot of fun. And we at least got one playoff win. So way to go, Buckner, Team Buckner. How about you, Matt? You got a shout out?
Well, I'll start by reading Solack, Brian Solack, the Soulman. He is giving a shout out to his wife for planning the vacation. They're going to the Ichiro Hall of Fame induction, and they're in Boston right now. They visited Fenway, his home away from home.
Nice.
And where he, stalks various players that we heard about earlier today.
Like Clayton Kershaw. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm going to give a shout out to my sister whose birthday is coming up very shortly here, and wish her happy birthday.
And Joy, or Joe, you could be Joy as well.
Joyful Joe.
Joyful Joe. Your shout
So
out?
I got to tell Brian that if he's in Boston, he needs to go to Carmelina's for dinner.
Okay.
It's the best Italian food I've had in the United States, bar none. I am grateful for Jason Churchill tonight. That's going to
nice.
be that's who I'm going to be grateful for. He's been a good friend. He's been a good co-employee with Future Stars, and we've done big things over there. So I'm grateful for Jason Churchill.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. Everybody out there, thank you for joining us on the Seattle Sports Union podcast. On behalf of our producer, Brian, the Soulman Solack, Matthew, that damn dirty duck, Paige, and myself, Abraham DeWeese, we thank you, Joe Doyle, for joining us and enlightening us as to all the great minor league players that the Mariners have acquired and given away. But we'll see you guys next time. Check us out, all our great content on SeattleSportsUnion.com as well as YouTube. See you guys next time.